This is your brother, the lone low life with the home sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God stepping in score, Sunez, aka Skillustrator Low, your host for the Duck Down Dive, where I'm going to take you back in time through the Duck Down catalog for musical appreciation of select LP devastation. For this episode, we're going to find a real, incredible sleeper group. Certainly the most underrated, superbly talented, and meaningful songwriting duo that I can ever remember. Out of Seattle, Washington, the Blue Scholars, composed of DJ Sopsy and MC Geologic, are one of the most musically refined and lyrically profound duos out of the dark ages, what I call those 2000s. See, we were led to believe that the militant themes, revolutionary content, freedom-fighting anthems are a rarity, a gimmick to certain daring. So we had Dead Prez and Immortal Technique, the last great, overt, revolutionary artist, and it seemed to be over. By revolutionary, I mean MCing, where they are overtly calling out institutional oppression, colonialism, racism, and our liberation is a mandatory daily mission. The other activist, rebel revolutionary MCs as Aya-Likes and Raz Ceylon had the 2000s to fight through labels and distribution networks, among many. While this era, this invisible renaissance I call it, they have peaked in talent as Raz Ceylon and become even greater as Ness of Aya-Likes' 21st Century Blues LP produced by Baby J reveals. Yet we completely missed the sleeper revolution crates of the Dark Ages, the first two LPs of the Blue Scholars. The debut self-titled LP I first heard when I was at an unnamed major hip-hop magazine. So here's a story. And if you know where I was in 05, that's just what it is. I received there, while I was there, an email. I think it was about a group I should check out, right? And if they could send me the package with the promise that I would listen to it. I always did, but working at this magazine where, fucks for finding great new hip-hop as opposed to leeching on the next leeching hit and just too lazy to sit through and sift through the now hundreds of records you'd get every week, they didn't have much fucks to give. I gave my word as bond because my bond is life, and I should give my life before my word shall fail. Fairly easy to do since every song on the shelf I'm obsessed with listening to. This debut album, with a paper bag shaded cardboard cover CD case with the Seattle skyline, Blue Scholars had written in graph, and also standard lowercase lettering with all the lyrics in it, was incredible. They weren't battle bars, but some of the best everyman revolutionary lines in the USA I've ever heard still. A love of hip-hop and freewheeling, the sincere self-interest, introspective and no rest for the weary, and the perfect revolutionary ethos all can embrace and live out to their best degree, exemplified by the chorus of self-portraits saying, rebel with a pen, letting off buckshots and threes, rewriting what it is into what it ought to be. They made a mockery out of the possibility, but under constant revision is the poem that I be. Geologic, also known as Prometheus Brown, a Filipino brother from Seattle, poetically building on layman's revolution, was immediately such a special MC they could only be labeled with the limitation of alternative rap group. All the while Sopsy, of Iranian descent, made music with the musical backgrounds of jazz, punk, and ska, and was able to incorporate such clever musicality to thick drums that filled the room. The LP is as powerful as any group that blew up in the underground during the Dark Ages. I remember I was asked at this said magazine to publish a slander piece in an email newsletter on an individual they were at odds with. That goes against all my codes of ethics, and I declined. They said that was the task, whether I agreed or not, so instead, I wrote a review of this Blue Scholars debut and stuck it in the letter. I don't think it helped Blue Scholars, and I faced the music on my side and endeared me further to the group. Hip-hop is supposed to include the plight of the extended family of the black and brown creators of the culture. So after we stopped wasting time and acknowledged that the years of genesis the culture took that included African Americans, Jamaicans, and Puerto Ricans heavily as co-creators in varying levels and manners, we have to see that its greatness must be in the inclusion of all the repressed voices, certainly the black and brown oppressed throughout the world's diaspora. This is why Blue Scholars was so important, and it seemed their talents were just too undeniable by the time they released Bayani LP in 2007, and it sold well enough for Duck Down to release a Redux version with two previous songs in the catalog and an exclusive track. Much like Outkast's musical advancement from 94's Southern Playalistic to 96's Atlians, the Blue Scholars' debut in Bayani, make a progression musically where the breakbeat is not as predominant as the musical orchestras, being representative of their heritage and worldwide direction of their freedom building. Bayani is actually both a Tagalog word and a Persian word, meaning heroes of the people, and the word, respectively, repping their Filipino and Iranian heritage. That leads to the intention of making an absolutely anthemic anthem every single time, something the debut did introspectively, Bayani does overtly. The vocator riffs on the loud drum smashes of loyalty, the blaring funky whomps on a chaqueta sounding shake drumming of opening salvo, the controlled chaos of the clanging snare and the warped sounds and in and out keys on the distance turn the songs into anthems and emotion bursting salvos. Geologic's verses are filled with the declarations of the return on the title track, saying it's the return of the hard knock and hardcore, from hard rock to hip hop, the migration of flocks who once mocked what we ride for, to the detailing the world from the neighborhood details and tales of back home, the calls to change for the people as the people on fire for the people, versing lines like, no, there's no such thing as an unjustified existence, except perhaps a few thousand rappers in this business. Finish what I start scientifically, strategically, specifically addressing the oblivion we live in. My brethren and sistren, I'm speaking, are you listening? Geologic's jewels still apply 16 years later as on North by Northwest building, and they say desegregation was a big step forward. But integration only covered up a rotten core. The surface might have changed, but the cauldron is still hot. Now we more politically correct with less real talk. They say we liberal, but literally not. All with a powerful ability to submerge us into his mindset, with perfect pocket engagement as on loyalty, where he rhymes stellar with wonder why. Maybe I'm way behind, lately been occupying my mind with the possibility this means we all end with 2 albums and a handful of people I call friends, and friends I call comrades, and comrades who stand together write a book till it ends. Indeed, as we be headed in directions, getting whole towns polarized, either love it or leave it. Indeed, I'm giving credit to the fam who believed it, preceding the hype of the hyperbole of the media. Even though some people abandoned ship, on the other hand, some were skeptical quick, but now they quick to bandwagon up. Or the ticking snare and slap drum on a beautiful piano melody and rising bass melodies on Joe Metro, with the absolutely impeccable visuals from Geoversing. I reach beneath the skin of the street with each step, walking closer to my final destination of death. When I'm laying to rest, I'm only saving my breath. The Northwest fills the lungs, heals the pain in my chest. Take 6 quarters out of my pocket, drop it in the box, hop the 48, off to pay homage. It stops often. I jot my observations watching citizens walking off of the Joe Metropolitan, proletariats and wayward sons, with old Filipino men speaking in their native tongues. And the day has just begun, greeted by the scent of a bum, smelling something like beer, barf, and dung. A brother in repose in the back all alone, marinating in a pair of half-broken headphones. Mumbling rhymes, same time begin to pen mine. Exceptionally uplifting poetic prose through musical street, freedom chants and lyric hymns. This is peak MCing over powerful music, man. I truly feel that their third album, 2011's Cinematropolis, was so musically creative but not gritty enough when it was released. The drumming is actually missing snares and felt empty. Often while the focus on synths makes it lose the cinematic appeal I had envisioned. Now over time, in my own enhanced musical understanding, it's an ingenious avant-garde musical work. I see it now, with Geo's lyrics leading more into the poetically abstract, with its homages and references from song titles through song verses, makes it so much more appreciated now. Blue Scholars had some EPs of note also that are called for the Redux bonus tracks, the Joe Metro EP and the Guns and Butter EP, both very worthy to collect in their entirety. Back then, I was such a lone fan and supporter in the major media, frustrated they daringly shortened their career for the right reason, making the most challenging, progressive music they could make. I was doing the same at every magazine. I was a Blue Scholar too, living the blues and scholarly enough to fearlessly put it in the print news. Ultimately, the self-titled debut is truly an epic jewel of an album, while Bayani and the Bayani Redux is their most fulfilled union of powerful MCing and progressive music and it is absolutely essential. Salute and supreme thank you to Geologic and Samsi for the immense catalog of magnificent inspiration and peaked amazingly with their sophomore Bayani Redux LP. Peace to Duck Down, and if there's an album you'd like to hear me build on, let us know in the comments. Until next time, I'm Sunez aka Skillustrator Low, and this has been another Never Respect Fake broadcast. Peace.